Hey, what's going on, everyone? So, does this sound like you? You're always on the go. You're mentally drained at the end of each day. You just feel like you have no more energy. You just feel like you're grabbing unhealthy choices and foods because you don't have any food prepared. You're ordering Uber Eats. You're throwing in a frozen pizza. You're just like, oh, I'll start again tomorrow. If that's you, I want to go through how to prep a week's worth of meals in just 60 minutes for you and your whole family. Maybe realistically 60 to 90 minutes. That way you can have all your meals ready to go. And for those who don't know who I am, my name is Luke Briggs. I'm the owner of the Total Life Fitness Academy, where we specialize in helping parents and busy professionals lose body fat, build muscle, and have more energy. I've been a coach for over 10 years, and I've worked with nearly 3,000 clients. All right. So why is meal planning so challenging? You have a busy schedule. Seems like something is always going on, and you feel like you just have no plan for what to prep. You're like, got all these kids' activities, you're the chauffeur, you're running them around. It just seems like it's going to take a lot of time. Like a lot of people inside our program in Total Life Fitness Academy, they're busy parents and working professionals. They get up, then they got their kids, get them ready, then they go to work. Maybe they stay home and work, but then they come home and then they have the kids' activities again. And then by the end of the day, they're just drained and exhausted. And that's why we teach them these meal prep strategies. So, how would it feel instead if you knew exactly what meals to prepare each week? You didn't feel stressed out, like super stressed about coming up with different options each week. And you could do all this in just 60 to 90 minutes a week. Does that sound okay to you? If so, let's continue. So step one of this whole process is planning. And this whole planning will probably take 10 to 20 minutes. The first thing you want to do is have a conversation with your spouse or some of your family members and talk about what you're going to do for your meals that week. If you don't communicate, it's going to be extremely challenging compared to if you do communicate. So make sure you have that open line of communication with your spouse, especially when you eat together, so you know what you're making. And then you want to pick your protein sources, pick your carb sources, and pick your veggie sources. So for lunches and dinners, which is what we're going to talk about today, you're going to pick 2 to 4 protein sources for the week, 2 to 4 carb sources, and 2 to 4 veggie sources. And that means, 1 to 2 different things for lunch and 1 to 2 different things for dinner. We don't want a ton of variety here because that just adds complexity. If you desire to make big recipes every single week, that's great. If you enjoy doing that, by all means, you're just likely not going to prep a week's worth of meals in an hour or 90 minutes. It's likely going to take you a lot longer if you have all these big fancy recipes. If you want to do that, by all means, go for it. So, protein sources, choose 2 to 4 of these: lean ground beef, lean ground turkey, boneless, skinless chicken breast, bison, lean cuts of steak, pork tenderloin, salmon, tuna, cod, shrimp. And then if you're a vegetarian, things like tofu, tempeh, seitan, edamame, just pick from one of those. So again, ground beef, ground turkey, boneless, skinless chicken breast, bison, lean cuts of steak, pork tenderloin, salmon, tuna, cod, shrimp, tofu, tempeh, seitan, edamame. Pick 2 to 4 of those. Then you're going to choose your carb sources: brown rice, jasmine rice, quinoa, oats, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, lentils, black beans, chickpeas, whole grain pasta. Obviously, there are going to be other options as well. These are just examples. So, rice, quinoa, oats, potatoes, lentils, black beans, chickpeas, pasta. Choose from those. Then you're going to pick 2 to 4 different veggie sources. So things like spinach, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, bell peppers, asparagus, zucchini, green beans. Anything there, leafy greens, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, bell peppers, asparagus, zucchini, cucumbers, green beans, things like that. So you want to pick 2 to 4 options of each. So have a couple different things to rotate. Then you very simply determine how much of each food you need to get. So let's use an example. Let's say you're a family of 4. We're going to say lean ground turkey, lean ground beef, boneless, skinless chicken breast, and cod are going to be your 4 protein sources. So turkey, beef, chicken, cod. Turkey, beef, chicken, cod. So all you need to do now is some math. And don't worry, I'll do some math for you. So for each meal, we're going to say that we want 6 ounces per person, 6 ounces of meat or fish per person per meal. So that's 35 grams of protein. Then the simple equation is you take the ounces per meal, which is 6, times the number of people you're cooking for, which is 4 in this case, times the number of meals that you want to make per week. So the ounces would be 6. The number of family members you're cooking for is 4. And then the number of meals is 13. You're going to do lunches and dinners for all 7 days of the week, except one of the meals, you're going to allow yourself to eat out. So you're going to have 1 meal out per week. So you do 6 times 4 times 13. 6 times 4 times 13 is 312 total ounces of meat or fish that you'll need for the week to feed a family of 4, assuming each person is having 6 ounces per person per meal. Again, obviously, do what works for you. This is just an example. Then you're going to do 312 divided by the number of protein sources that you have, which is 4, because you have turkey, beef, chicken, and cod. So 312 divided by 4 means you need to have 78 ounces per food item, which is basically 5 pounds. So you need to get 5 pounds of each protein source from the store. So you need to go get 5 pounds of lean ground turkey, 5 pounds of lean ground beef, 5 pounds of chicken breast, and 5 pounds of cod. Now, if your kids are younger, that number may be significantly less because they're not going to eat that much. This is if your kids are maybe a little bit older. So then you can just adjust accordingly. Maybe if you're like my kids, my son likes to eat, hot dogs and hamburger and peanut butter and jelly sandwich and not a whole lot else. So I'm right there with you. Kids can be tricky to cook for. So carb sources, it's the same exact thing. So let's say we're going to choose brown rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes, white potatoes. So rice, quinoa, and then 2 different kinds of potatoes. And you're going to do 6 ounces per person as well. So that's going to be about 40 to 50 grams of carbs per person per meal. So then you use the same equation, the number of ounces, which is 6, times the number of people you're cooking for, which is 4, times the number of meals you're going to have per week, which is 13. So same thing, 312 ounces total, 5 pounds of carbs for each carb source. So you're going to get 5 pounds of brown rice, 5 pounds of quinoa, 5 pounds of sweet potatoes, and 5 pounds of white potatoes. And adding veggies and light condiments, these will probably be around 500, maybe 600 calorie meals, which is well within range for most people. So get the protein, get the carbs, figure out how much you need. This entire planning process to just figure out which protein sources you're going to have, which carb sources you're going to have, which veggies you're going to have, then just figure out how much you need of each one. That should take no more than 20 minutes. The key in all this, you might be thinking, well, Luke, that sounds like a lot of food, but do not buy snacks. You don't need snacks. This is what you're going to be eating. So I get it. I have young kids and we have lots of snacks in our pantry. So if your kids want snacks, by all means, get them for them. You don't need to buy snacks for yourself. You don't need granola bars and trail mix to quote unquote tide you over until the mid-morning or mid-afternoon. Just eat bigger meals. Just eat bigger meals. Like you don't need snacks. Like people spend all this time, energy, and money on things they don't need. Like just get things that you're going to need and are going to serve you. So after you plan everything out, which takes a max 20 minutes, so this isn't included toward the actual prep time, but this is something that you do anyways, right? You already prep things for the week. You and your spouse probably talk about what you're going to be doing each week. You talk about what you have coming up, what are kids' activities. So just include this as a part of your normal planning time. It doesn't add extra time. Then step number 2 is actually getting the food. So there are a couple different ways you can get the food. Now, the easiest way to get the food, and what I personally do, is use a meal delivery service. So the pros of this, obviously the positives, are that it takes no time. You don't have to prep anything. The calories and macros are already determined. So the time is like literally you scrolling on the website of the meal delivery service for like a few minutes, and then you have everything ordered and it's delivered right to your door. Pretty simple, right? Now, the cons, per se, or quote unquote the negatives, which you can argue whether these are negatives or not, is you're paying more for convenience. You're maybe paying $10 to $15 a meal. So if you're getting one meal per day delivered for 7 days a week, that's $70 to $105 per person per week, which over the course of a month is $280 to $420 per person for one meal. Now, a lot of times if you order a lot at once, you can get that number down a little bit, even more to like $8 or $9 a meal, depending on the meal delivery service company. Now, if it gets too low, I'd be a little concerned because it's probably not the greatest quality ingredients. And then if you're doing 2 meals a day, that would be about $140 to $210 per person per week. So for most of you, it's probably going to be toward the lower end, like 140 to 170, 180 per person per week. So basically that would be between $560 and $840 per person per month, which, if you break it down, like if you're already wasting or spending money on things you don't need anyways, and you want to prioritize your spending on this, and you look at it as an investment, then this could be a really good option for you. So that is the easiest way, is to use a meal delivery service, even if for some meals during the week. Now, the easier way is to order or pick up groceries. Now, this could eliminate potentially like an hour or two a week if you do pickup or home delivery. So it takes no time. You just go on, you order online, which maybe takes a couple minutes, a few minutes. And then again, you could save a lot of time. Now, a couple of places that are local to where I am in Madison, Wisconsin are Hy-Vee and Costco. So I looked on the websites of both of these places. So at Hy-Vee, pickup is free. Like the curbside pickup is free with a minimum purchase of $24.95. So basically, if you were going to spend at least $25, which let's be honest, you are, then you can get free pickup. You probably just need to order like a day or two in advance, which you can plan ahead and do anyways. It had something on their website where like if you wanted it within 2 hours, you just paid a little bit extra. So it totally depends on what you want. And then delivery at Hy-Vee is $9.95 with a minimum purchase, again, of $24.95. So basically $10 delivery if you spend at least $25. And if you think about it, if it's going to save you time, and you'll probably end up spending less anyways, because anytime you go to the store, you probably always get something that you don't need. So you're not going to waste as much. It'll probably save, probably cover itself. Then Costco, 2-day delivery. For non-perishable pantry items, it's $3 per item per delivery. And that delivery fees is waived when you spend at least $75. So if you're going to spend at least $75 at Costco for non-perishable items, you can get it for free, delivered for free. Cold and frozen items at Costco, they need special temperature control. So these items ship separately from the 2-day delivery items. So cold and frozen items have a $10 delivery fee per order, which is waived again when you spend at least $100. So basically, if you're spending at least $100 at Costco, which let's be honest, you are, if you've ever gone to Costco, you're never going to not spend less than $100 or very rarely, then you can get it delivered for free and have the delivery fee waived. Now, if you like going grocery shopping, which some people do, They like to get away. They like to go out and be somewhere and get their steps in and walk around. And you want to spend the hour or two grocery shopping, by all means do that. Now, if you want to save that time and you don't want to spend that time doing all that, you can easily just order online and have it delivered or picked up for a minimum amount. You might give the delivery driver a tip or something like that, but again, you still may spend less overall. Then obviously you could go, the third way would be you just go and actually get the groceries yourself. It would be free from that standpoint. And then from the standpoint of time, it would then just take you the time. So it just depends on what you want in terms of getting the food. So now, step number 3 is let's prep the actual meals. So what you're going to do is you're going to get set up the night before. You're going to get your Tupperware containers out, your baggies for the veggies, your pots, your pans, other cookware, silverware, knives that chop the veggies, and prep this all out the night before. Then it's way easier. Like in terms of building a habit, if it's easy for you to start and the setup is already taken care of for you, it's going to be a lot easier for you to actually get started. So get that stuff set up. Then you're going to take about 20 minutes and you're going to measure out all the food. So this doesn't count in terms of the 60 minutes, but you're just going to measure all the food ahead of time. The protein, the carbs, the veggies. So you're going to take the 6 ounces of ground beef, measure them all out. Always measure them raw, uncooked, because that way the variable is always the same. Measure the carbs and then measure the veggies. And then all you have to do from there is it'll probably take like 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how much you're cooking. You just cook the food all at once. So you have 4 burners on your stovetop. One of those burners, you can put lean ground turkey. One of those burners, you can put the beef. One of those burners, you can put the rice. One of those burners, you can put the quinoa. They're all cooking at once, simultaneously. Then in the oven, you can put the chicken. You can put the cod. You can put the potatoes. It depends on how big your oven is and how much you can cook at once, but you can cook a decent amount of it. And then while that food is cooking, you want to chop veggies and put them in baggies, or then put them right in the Tupperware containers. And this is even made easier if you have someone doing this with you. So like if you have one of your kids doing it with you, or if you have your spouse doing it with you, then you can probably go even faster. Then you just take about 20 minutes at the end, make sure you have all the storage containers, and then you sort them right in the storage containers. And then you put them in the fridge or freezer. So what I personally do is like for the next 2 or 3 days, things that I'm going to have in the next 2 or 3 days, we just put right in the fridge. So then all you have to do is just pull them out. They're already cooked, ready to go. And then you can put the rest in the freezer. You can put some of them in your normal freezer that you have upstairs. And then we have an additional freezer downstairs in the storage room where we store extra frozen items. So you can put the rest in there. And then all your meals are already measured out. You already know the macros on them. And all you have to do is eat them. So when you're on the go during the week, they're already ready and prepared for you. So that is how to do that. Now, a couple other time-saving tips. Make sure to communicate with your spouse about time for meal prep. Don't just like start meal prepping and then your spouse is like, oh, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I'm meal prepping. And they're like, oh, well, I wanted you to do this, so we're doing this. Like communicate with each other. Make sure you intentionally set aside time, days in advance when you're going to be doing it. Just like you communicate who's picking up the kids, or just like you communicate when we're doing date night or whatever. Like, don't just start doing it. Like, make sure you communicate with the other person what you're doing. Then you want to make sure you have minimized distractions. I used to be guilty of this, where I would like start meal prepping, then all of a sudden I'd remember something else and be like, oh, I got to go do the laundry, or oh, I got to go do this, or I got to go get the mail. Like, don't do other things while you're doing this. Just focus on doing this, and it'll go way faster. Instead of attempting to multitask and do like numerous things at one time, it's just going to end up making you do everything average, and it's going to take a really long time rather than you just doing just this. So I'd highly recommend doing it like early morning. So I've mentioned this previously on the podcast. Like if you're going to work out, first thing in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, use Tuesday and Thursday as your meal prep days. Tuesday is your grocery shopping day, or you're picking up the groceries, or you're having them delivered, whatever. Then Thursday is your prep day. Or you can even split it up where you do half on Tuesday, half on Thursday. And you can do it from like 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. If you have a ranch style house, you might be on the same floor. You can just communicate with people. That's the one day a week you're doing it. Just have people turn on their fans in their room or whatever. And then if you have a 2-story, people are upstairs, tell them to shut the doors. It probably won't be that loud. So just communicate, and then make sure that you have no distractions, or like schedule an exact time. You can also do it late at night, but let's be honest, most people are exhausted at the end of the night. They don't want to sit here and do all this meal prep. You're like, oh, I'm so exhausted from the day. I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to sit down and chill after the kids go to bed. You're with your spouse, whatever. So if you can honestly do it, which I would say most people, it's probably not a good idea. But if you can honestly do it from like 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. after the kids have gone to bed, then you can do it. Weekends as well, like weekends or off days from work, because some people work on the weekends, but then just find an off day from work to actually do it and schedule it in, make it non-negotiable. Block off time in your calendar to do this. This isn't like, oh, I'll just do this when I can. Like actually schedule time to do it. If you schedule time to do it, it's going to be more likely to actually happen. So I know what you're thinking, but Luke, what about X? Luke, I can't do this. My lifestyle won't allow it. I'm too busy. We have too many activities going on. Hey, I get it. In my opinion, people have way too many commitments in their lives relative to their priorities. This is just my personal opinion. I personally focus on 3 things. I focus on my fitness, family, and my work or business. Those are my 3 main priorities in life. Anything else that is asked of me that is reoccurring in nature is a no for now, because those are my priorities. If you're involved in like you're like coaching multiple of your kids' teams, you're on like the board for a bunch of different organizations, you're involved on like committees at school. Like if you're on all these extra things, sure, it might be great and helpful for them, but how is it helping you? Get rid of some of those commitments. Like anytime you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. Whenever you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So anytime you're saying yes to being on another committee, you're saying no to yourself and making that time for meal prep, because you are overcommitting yourself. You need to take more things out of your life and focus on what's really important. And you first need to understand what is actually important in your life. Is your health really one of your top priorities? I can't answer that question for you. You have to answer it for yourself. But if it is one of your top priorities because you do want to set an example for your kids, you do want to be healthy to be able to do all the activities that you want to do, and you do want to ultimately be the best version of yourself in your fitness, look fit, feel confident in your clothes, then maybe it is a priority and you need to thus treat it like such and say no to other things that are going to take time away from that. So you also might be thinking, but Luke, I want more variety. I can't eat this way. Hey, I get it. It's fun to have different foods, right? Like you want to try different things. The thing is, if your only goal is variety and you want to make like 7 different meals, for lunch every week and 7 different meals for dinner every week, because you like, all sorts of different tastes and things like that, and you say you're a foodie, that's great. You can do that. I'm just going to tell you, it's going to take way longer to prep, because you're going to have to get more things. It's going to be less efficient because you're going to have to prep different things. So when you're prepping all the same things, it goes way faster. So you can do that. Just know that it's going to take a lot longer, right? You also might be thinking, but what about my kids? I have picky eaters in the house. How am I supposed to do this? And I get it. Then just give your kids other things. Like my son pretty much eats peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, hot dogs, hamburgers, fruit. And those are kind of the core of what he eats. I mean, he eats some other stuff too, but that's what he likes eating. So we give him that stuff, and then we eat these things as well. And if you don't want to prep this stuff for your kids, then just the example that we gave before, just divide everything in two and just get it for yourself. You also might be thinking, but these foods won't taste as good if they're reheated. And again, I understand where you're coming from. As someone who's been doing this for like a decade, they taste fine. Like just get the glass Tupperware containers and then just reheat them. They taste fine. Like there's nothing wrong with them. Like even if they're frozen and you reheat them, just make sure you fully reheat them so they're not like partially frozen when you're still eating them. So you might just need to cook them a little bit. You might just need to heat them in the microwave a little bit longer, but they'll be absolutely fine. Like you already probably have frozen meals for other things. Like it's the same thing with like a frozen pizza. You throw it in the oven and it's been frozen, but it still tastes fine, right? So it still tastes good. So in summary, step one, plan. Take about 10 to 20 minutes, plan out what foods you're going to get, how much of them. Step number two, get the food. So you can either do a meal delivery service, you can have it delivered to your house or go pick it up in store for maybe a nominal fee, but it saves you time, or you can go get it yourself, whatever you want. Step number three is actually prep the food. So make sure you prep it the night before, have the things out ready to go so it doesn't seem as overwhelming in the moment. Then you put some stuff on the stove, some stuff in the oven, chop the veggies on the side, have the containers, put everything in the container right away, freeze them, store them. And then this is the key. Step number four is you need to repeat this each week. Don't just do this for 1 week. I see people who are all gung-ho and do it for like 1 week or 2 weeks, and then they fall off track. Consistency. Consistently do it week after week. And if you consistently do it week after week, that compounds. You're going to be getting healthier. You're going to be losing body fat. You're going to be building muscle. You're going to have more energy. Your clothes are going to fit better. Your health markers are going to improve because you are making the time for yourself to have healthy meals in the right amounts at home. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. If you like what you heard here, make sure to also join our free Total Life Fitness community Facebook group. Go into our show links right here, and I have a link directly to the group. And all you have to do is you request to join the group. We'll approve you almost right away, pretty quickly. And then we have like a free weekend eating checklist. We have tons of trainings on awesome topics around like, how to build lean muscle, how to build muscle over 40, other super time-saving tricks for busy parents, and it's all free. All you have to do is go join the link below. We have trainings consistently in there as well. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. If you have any further questions, reach out, check the links below, and we will chat soon.